Hello and welcome to session 8 of 9 for Free from the Yoke. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. This session is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. Find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com, because if you're hearing this one, you probably listened to the other one, so I'm not even going to go too much further on that. Last time, we had the completion of the Arbiter's project. We had Sneadosh brought into the land, the territory brought into the holding here. They agreed to come in. It was a multi-step process from session 2 on, but it was completed and just in time, because the project's doom got up there pretty high towards the end there. Also, note that currently the land remains with turmoil higher than control. So that is a thing to keep in mind. We did the advancement on the project, and for my part, I added, I believe, a point of control. I gave all the houses surplus peace, and I gave a new move to the arbiters, essentially the patron of the blade. So at the beginning of each season, GM picks which house holds the best warrior in the land. They roll holding court with advantage. So that is a thing that is out there. Now, for our particular project that we finished, the expansion project, there are several choices. Each player gets to choose one of these things, and I'm going to run through them again quickly. And I don't think we did these choices. Did we put them out there? Did you? I don't think you guys picked them though, right? Okay. So here are the choices that are on the table. You can claim a vast new section of new land. You gain surplus land, and you raise your grasp by 1. You claim a valuable resource site, mark it on the map as a new settlement, and gain surplus rare materials. You control travel to the new region, erase surplus transport to get influence on each house that colonizes the new region. You push for rights for the new land's inhabitants, gain surplus justice and influence on the inhabitants, but lose a favor. You learn something new there, get a move from a playbook that isn't in play, and add a new ritual to your traditions. And then the last one is your explorers travel far and wide, gain 1 reach and surplus scouts.
You know, I think we actually did do this.
Yeah, that occurs to me because you took the scouts, didn't you?
Well, I took the justice because I had a need justice.
That's right.
And I think that I think that Tyler and Patrick took the move and the tradition, right?
Okay, that's right. Okay. So so it becomes a question of what choice
Can I jump in? So I wasn't here, and I'm perfectly happy not to do any of the stuff that relates to the completion of the project.
Oh no, you're going to get this.
But if I should, then I'm happy to.
Yeah. So make sure that you mark surplus piece. That's something that's given out to you. And then of those things that we've just decided, so the ones that have currently been chosen are the travel, the learning the ritual, not the travel, the learning the ritual, the learning the move, and the push for the rights of the land's inhabitants. So the other choices are out there are new land, get surplus land and raise grasp, valuable resource, market and gain surplus rare materials, control travel, erase surplus transport to get influence on each house that colonizes the region.
So you have to already have surplus transport to take that.
I believe so.
Okay.
And I think those are the 4 that are available for you, or the 3 that are available for you.
So the I can take a house move from a playbook that isn't in play and add a new ritual, or that was taken.
Oh no, actually, we had 2 people take that one, so I think we can double up on those. So you could,
or the vast new section of land. I have a need land, so let's do that one.
Okay,
so I erase my need,
and you raise your grasp by 1.
Great.
All right. I'm making this more confusing than it has to be right at the start, because that's what this is about. We're going to take up a little ways down the line. Do we think we're like a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line? What do you think, Tyler?
I'm about to sneeze.
My hands are close by this Kleenex over here. Yes.
Oh, stupid pollen. I wouldn't mind it being a decent amount. I'm happy to bow to whatever anybody wants, but I wouldn't mind it being a little chunk of at least 5.
Patrick, Tormod, would you be okay with a 5-year plan?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What would you think, Jesse? Does that work for how you would envision things?
Sure. I mean, from my perspective, kind of the longer the better. I a little bit. I mean, 5 years is great. Yeah. If people wanted to go longer, I would not object, but 5 is great also.
If I put out a decade, 10 years, would anybody have objection to that?
And this is an age turn, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And effectively, age turn is not that much different, except that we kind of narrate what's gone on, and then we go to the holding court discussion there. So let's say 10 years has passed then, and let me pull up the favorite ages things. When the Arbiter's project is complete, this age is over. We've worked through the project's resolution steps. Now there's a question of paying your debts. All power is pulled from the land, and the land will claim its power back if its health suffers. Each house will answer these questions and rolls 2 dice, modifying the result according to their answers. Here are the questions. I'm going to come to each of you and do this. How did you manage the land? If you get +1 if you tended and cared for it, -1 if you neglected or became estranged from it. How did you treat the spirits? +1 if you sought their company and formed personal connections, -1 if you feared them or used them as tools. How has your house come together? +1 if you rediscovered old customs or found new ones, -1 if you spurned your community or descended into infighting. So these are all your choices about how things have happened here. Tyler, let's start with you, Captain Zenit. And
oh yeah, I do need to change that, don't I?
How did you manage your land?
I think we did a good job of that. It's certainly well within our character.
Right. And certainly we had your people turning to that and expanding out into that land. Mm-hmm. How did you treat the spirits?
Again, I think with me taking over, we were much more trying to connect with the spirits, and we were being a much more spiritual house.
And how did your house come together? +1 if you rediscovered old customs or found new ones, -1 if you spurned your community or descended into infighting.
I think we had some infighting.
Okay. I think that actually makes sense. So you'll be rolling this roll with a +1.
All righty. And I have very naughtily not brought up the die roller.
And I will say, roll the dice, look away, hum a little, and then look back, because the die roller is a liar.
Yes. All right.
I'm working on that right now.
Well, that is not good. I have a 6.
Okay. So, on a 6, you have to pick 2 from the list. I will drop the list into copy.
And what move are we rolling right now?
We are rolling the Turning of Ages.
Oh, okay.
You're going to pick 2 from the list that I just dropped into the chat.
Alrighty. Oh. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, am I ready to overthrow the Arbiter now? Is that what we're moving towards? No, I think I'm going to do something purely because it saves me paperwork. We're going to forget a ritual.
Okay.
So that I don't have to pick the one I picked up from by choice from the Turning of Ages, or from the finishing the project.
And then what is the second thing that you want?
A second thing.
You could zero out on attunement.
Yeah, couldn't I? Yeah, I think that's it. The spirits are haunting me. And I think that kind of is reflected in this part of the turmoil in the house. I think that probably Corman and his people and me and mine have been using the spirits in a way, and I think that's caused some rowling amongst them.
Absolutely. Patrick, how did you manage the land?
I mean, I didn't necessarily neglect it, but none of it was under my control, really.
Do you think that's a 0 then? Do you think that the answer is somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take that as a 0. Given your particular situation, that makes sense to me. What about how did you treat the spirits? Did you seek out their company or did you fear them?
A little of all. But I feel like I started out trying to, like, I went to go talk to that kid. I worked to make a deal with him that was mutually beneficial, but I offered to get him out and worked for that. Then they got scary.
Yeah. So where do you think you would your house would go in those 10 years?
I think I don't know, because I don't know, like, what that weird scary god is doing.
Then I think I'm going to let you sit with a 0 on that one as well. How has your house come together?
I do think we've come together over not necessarily old customs, but new ones of finding ways to, like, gain influence and community and sort of a resource of people through these sort of, like, warlike insurrections and things.
Sure. So let's have you roll with a +1.
Tabby.
And that is a good question. Now, the envoys don't have an alternate for when the Turning of Age occurs, do they?
No, just that court.
Okay, just the court one. That's right.
So it's kind of like they should, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
6 + 1 is 7.
So look at that. You only have to pick one bad thing.
Oh, well, that's good. Just because I'm curious, not that I would pick that, but what is the Insurrection Arbiter project like?
It means that it's not actually the insurrection, it's that the Arbiter forms a counter-insurrection, and the project is all about destroying the houses who are involved.
Whoa. Rude.
public executions, punitive taxation, banishment, excommunication. That's if it goes off.
Wow. I like the spirits haunt us. That seems
That
true.
certainly fits.
So neat attunement.
Josh, how did you manage your land?
I would say pretty well. I
Expanded it. Yeah. How did you treat the spirits?
I think that I respected the spirits of the land. I'd certainly learned about the spirits.
You formed personal connections with them.
Yeah.
That's definite. And how has your house come together?
I would say that my house is probably pretty similar now to where it was.
So maybe no movement either way, you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, I'll give you a 0, so you're rolling with +2.
That is 6 and 1, 9.
9. So you will pick one bad thing from the list.
All right. I will add. I will take your land withers. Need crops.
Okay, these are new areas. Yeah, that makes sense. And lastly but not least, our forgers. How did you manage the land?
So I think we just got this new land and we'd had a need before. So I think now we're sort of like trying to be pretty careful with it. Take reasonably good care of it. Yeah.
And certainly we saw that demonstrated with your work at the forge itself, that you were taking time to rebuild things. So I think that makes sense. So that's a +1. How did you treat the spirits? Did you seek out their company, form personal connections, or use them as tools?
I mean, I'm going to say it's not quite. I think this relationship with the Fae. Well, this is sort of going to be the question, right? So I'm totally blanking on my character's name, because it's been a few weeks.
You are
Something with
Valdemar.
Valdemar, yes. Valdemar made this deal with the Fae, and the question is, have we spent that decade? I don't think things ended so well for Valdemar. We'll talk about that as time goes on.
Yeah.
But
I think that we saw two things happen. One is that you clearly were trying to form some connections with the spirits, again, the forge that. But I think that then you also had the weight of the Fae there. And
right,
so I think that's going to zero sum out.
right. So what's that mean? Is that
So
minus?
that'll be a 0.
You can do that? Cool.
I'm saying that. Yeah, that
Wonderful.
That
I will
makes sense.
take the 0 there. I think that sort of like the consequences of that conflict is something that I want to see spin out. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. That's
So
good.
Here's the important question, though, because we haven't had a chance to see you for the last couple of sessions. Your house itself, do you think they rediscovered old customs or found new ones? Or is there a spurning of the community? Is there infighting? Which direction do you think that goes?
There's 100% infighting. I think
Okay.
sort of like I don't know, because we didn't do the season ending stuff, right? Because I wasn't there. So I don't know, like Valdemar was supposed to get the forge up and running for the Arbiter. He kind of did, but I think the way we ended it was he didn't fully have the manpower to do it. And I think so that was like two in a row failures, even though if he got part of the way there. And like I think this is the other faction's opportunity, the Sen faction's opportunity to like come in, and so there's infighting there for sure.
So that'll net out. You have a +1, a 0, and a -1. So you're going to be rolling this roll at a 0.
Wonderful. That's what I like to hear. It's all in fate's hands.
Exactly.
And I need 2d6. We'll say fortress, actually. what's a color no one's using? Red. And submit. That's a 7.
That's a 7. So you pick one of those issues from that list.
Yeah, so hold on. Don't really want to forget a ritual. We only got the one. Add a new condition to all your rituals. Your land withers, gain need crops. I kind of want to overthrow the Arbiter, but I feel like that's too much. I think that's too much. So let's say add a new condition to all your rituals.
Okay.
I think so. Rituals are generally about connection to the land and the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
But I think doing a ritual, and this is going to be something that like requires a commitment, right? Either to the spirits or to the Fae, right? So my rituals can be powered by the Fae, right? But right, that requires sort of committing myself to them, and we could talk about a sacrifice. We can talk about some a formula, like a contractual formula that gets recited in actual conversation with a representative. But I think I've got land in Sneadosh now. I've got this existing relationship with the Fae, and I think that's reflected in my rituals.
I like that.
Such that like, and I'm like a strained. Oh, let's just go all out, right? The ritual is powered by the Fae. Let's just do it.
That the one of the three, one of them left. The two others remained, and the one that is sort of backing you has wormed its way into the heart of your family.
Right now, I think there's space for the spirits to reassert themselves, and probably in other ways, like the forge, right, is still powered by the spirits. So there's like this, but for the rituals, it's the Fae.
So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go around. There are going to be 3 things that we're going to need to ask. One is we're going to have you give us kind of the sense of what has happened with your family. If you want to make changes to your doctrine, lifestyle, or customs, you can do that. And you can name, if you want, a new custom that comes out of this age. You'll then have an opportunity to add something to the map, a threat, an opportunity, or a new faction. And then we decide whether your character moves on or not. So Tyler, give us the elevator pitch on what happens to your family over this decade. We're 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Gray hairs on everyone, grayer hairs on you.
I think that there is the problem of Cormid out there, rabble rousing against Dadushka. I think there was a split of the council. And I think it's not like, the teachers aren't ones to go and have pitched battles. So it's a much more hearts and minds.
Slap fights and okay.
That's it. First level mages out of spells sort of thing. Just got the darts. But it's much more of a hearts and minds, and there is this kind of seething problem that I think lasts for years. I think probably half this decade is dealing with that before Dadushka finally gets it mostly under control and the new council is formed, and my guess is Corman is in exile. But along with that has been Dadushka's kind of push with the council for, first off, they did not do what the Arbiter wanted to promote the church, which I don't know if that's reflected in favor mechanically, but we did not.
No, because the progress occurred, so we would have gone forward on that.
But we have been consistently going out and trying to reconnect people, being much more aggressive in that with Dadushka in control. We have also been looking with, concern to try and find those 3 Fey blades. And so there have been a lot of people being sent out to look for those. And there's also the kind of seething push up once we handle our internal problems of Dadushka believes that the Arbiter is not good to lead this land and is trying to do whatever is possible to get Yekaterina and the Horse Lords in a good position to make the move and get rid of him.
So is your new custom kind of a sense of questing then amongst your people?
Yeah, that seems good.
Okay. Do you want to make any changes to your customs or it says to your customs, doctrine, or lifestyle?
Let's see. Doctrine. No, I think we're going to stick with that. Lifestyle. No, I think we're going to stick with that as well.
Sure. When I come back around to you, I'm going to ask you to add something to the map, or you're going to say something and you're going to have Patrick add it to the map. One of these two things is going to happen.
Alrighty.
Tormod, in the 10 years that have passed, you're in good favor. You've lived here another 10 years. What has gone on with your house?
So I was looking at the ritual and move to pick up from the project last time, and for the ritual, I went with the heretic doctrine from the church peoples, and I think that comes from repeatedly trying to find ways to interact with the magic of this land or the gods, and maybe trying to go down there and talk to some more of the dead gods, and I think constantly running into the blocking and wrath of Kritamir, that weird dark god.
And of course, you're haunted by the woman that you left behind in the grave of the gods. Go on. I'm sorry.
Things just stuff, things. So we've had to find ways to work around that, basically. And so if he's going to interpose himself in anything I try to do interacting with the gods of this land, well, we just have to find our magical help elsewhere. So out of that, I think we're going with celestial rituals, turning to the stars, and ancient magics there. Probably something that we picked up from
the
people
itself?
that we've...
They're the ones who had that.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, somewhere along the way, we helped out a monastery or a group of the church that was following a heretic doctrine. And then also picking up the Grand Feast move from the newfound family.
Okay.
Just because that fits well with what I was doing. Turn these festivals and feasts into a thing.
So do you think that's the new sort of custom that you have? Are these grand feasts?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That I think it was just the wrong meat. We were, these Southlanders. They have weird palates, and it obviously wasn't the jelly. The jelly was correct. It was that we were jellying the wrong meats, and so we've had to slightly update that, and suddenly our I don't know, lamb roast in aspic has become all the rage.
That makes sense.
It doesn't, but thank you.
Yeah, no. I thought you were going to say something like jellied rabbits or jellied venison. So, but the lambs seem more reasonable. Are there any changes to your doctrine, lifestyle, or customs?
I was just looking through that. The house. Let's see. lifestyle. Yeah, I think that I'll switch up my lifestyle from the Thousand Eyes agent spread everywhere, although I do like that, to the Grand Embassy. So I think this chateau that I have near that place that I can never remember, but
The fastness.
yes, the Fastness. Um, the chateau I have near there, I've worked on like making it, fixing it up, making it attractive again, but also making it a like draw of power, making sure that I have the right sort of like dinners and events and people there. So let's see. I have a central headquarters as close to the seat of power as possible. When you seek an audience with the Arbiter, spend one trust to give the read the wind roll advantage.
Excellent.
Sounds fun. Doctrine. I still like my doctrine. And then the customs. Local recruits. No, I think I'll stick with the same sort of customs.
I like that. Then I think we're set on that. I'm gonna move on. Horse lords, our mighty horse lords. Tell us what has gone on in the 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that over the past 10 years, the Horse Lords have probably dealt with the Al-Sharika that, is most probably over by now.
Mm-hmm.
They've grazed past the river, probably even further than they had originally, set their grazing lands. They're exploring further to the west and just sort of exploring more in general, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are there any changes to your doctrine, lifestyle, or customs?
Well, I think that to our lifestyle, our doctrine, or our customs, I think that they still work pretty well.
What is a new custom or thing that your family does to kind of remember this age or something that happened within this age?
I think that people from I think they've adopted some of the culture of the people past the Poslednaya.
Okay.
I think that they they've started farming more. I don't think they were agrarian at all, really.
Okay.
And I think now they have a connection spiritually to agrarian nature as well as untouched nature.
I like that. We will come back to you to have you update the geography with a threat, opportunity, or faction. Foragers. Now, Jesse, we got to give you some. You have to give us the narration that kind of rolls out of what we didn't see on screen for your family
Right.
into this 10 years here.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, I think this has been like pretty shitty for the Forgers. I think like the last thing we saw was Valdemar like just barely making it out of the forge, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And like I think it's running now. But like I went like Tatiana, like it didn't get done in time to really fulfill the Arbiter's wish, right? Like it was too late, and like that was kind of just disastrous for Valdemar as an individual, and had important political consequences for the house in general,
Yep.
right? Like the Arbiter already didn't like us much, and we're sort of now just seen as like not particularly important or worthwhile. Our work is still valued like as art, but and we were sort of like given a little bit of land because of what we'd lost in the war, in the rebellion, to sort of like smooth things over in the new colony in Sneadosh. But like I think so far as our relation with the Arbiter goes, like that's sort of where we are politically within the realm. Internally, I think the sort of consequences were like that was very unsettling for the families, sort of like hold on power. And Tatiana was never a great sort of like ruler. She was a figurehead because she was such a wonderful artist and craftsperson. But Valdemar did a lot of the actual wheeling and dealing. And when he was discredited, like that was sort of the beginning of the end of their rule. I think like towards the middle end of this decade, the Sens, the other sort of family, really took over. They managed to sort of like take control of the family as a whole, and but like part of it is this there's now this sort of like conflict in terms of the magical powers of the realm, right? Who, because we're now kind of beneath the Arbiter's notice, right? The Fae feel like they can use us and manipulate us, and so like Valdemar as an individual, I don't think he's going to be my player character, but I think he survives as a sort of older man, has sort of like become entirely their puppet, as like a play to just grasp whatever power he can. But meanwhile, right, the Sens, right, Oren Sen was the person who used to be in charge of the forge and had died, and I think maybe like his nephew, or yeah, his nephew is the person who like takes over as the head of the house, and like sends people to the forge to like really get it going, and that is a place of power for the spirits. And so you have, it's kind of like it's a little bit more complicated, but basically you have these two families within the house turning to these two different powers, and they're sort of, meanwhile, 10 years later, who knows, maybe the Arbiter's turning back to them for something. Maybe they want to show the Arbiter they can do it.
So do you think that's going to cause any changes in the doctrine, lifestyle, or customs of your house?
So I think one of the things that the sort of instability, right, with the internal conflict has changed. Hold on, has changed the populace. No longer, I don't even remember what it used to be, but now people wield the power, and a revolt can topple any given order in populace. I'm going to keep rule about the noble houses vying for power, and the culture about the sculpture, but I'm going to change the populace because I like this idea now that things are unstable, and now there's like the people are starting to.
So is the new custom that comes out of this that kind of split, that some portions of the family are doing these sort of honorings of the Fae, and some people are doing the honorings of the spirits?
Yeah, I think that like a more, I don't like this word, but like a more mystical, spiritual. Well, let's take it. No, like meaning there's a recognition that there is power beyond the power beyond the physical, and people are turning to these different sources of it, like very consciously. And I think different people, like there's there's not one custom that everybody's practicing,
Mm-hmm.
but there are more people leaving bowls of milk out on the porch. There are more people who are doing different things for the spirits of the land, and there's some who are turning to bargain with the Fae, especially the new settlers in Sneadosh.
Nice.
And also, in Lichelli, right? Like the people in that part of the land also.
I like that. We'll come back to you with you adding something to the map. Tyler, what would you like to add to the map? A new threat, opportunity, or faction? Opportunities being ways to get new surpluses.
Right. So a threat, opportunity, or faction. I think. Boy, howdy. I think I'm going to add a threat.
Okay.
I think that the Empire, with us having been the first to break off, has had trouble over these 10 years. And I think that imperial border we have now has also declared itself independent. And the new nation there is kind of where we were 10 years ago, feeling full of itself, lots of men who have been trained, or lots of troops that have been trained and feeling like they can take on the world. And we're the sort of target that Sneadosh was for us 10 years ago.
What do you want to call that new land?
I think I want to call them the Republic of Andorra. We'll call them that. What the hey?
Get this down to a reasonable font size. I don't know what our font is, so we'll just use that one because no one will tell the difference, I'm sure.
And I think as a little bit of a description, they're not as steeped in our old traditions as we were, being on the frontier. And so they're a more to the church, less to the teacher in the land. But they do have that tradition. It's just much longer forgotten.
I like it. Patrick, what do you wish to add to the map?
It's a very good question.
It's hard to think of something. I got on the spot.
That's why I warned you I was coming around.
I've been looking through playbooks trying to find shit.
When in doubt, find a resource you want, put that on the map. And then when you go to get it, someone will take it from you.
Yeah, I mean, historically.
Yeah. I'm actually going to clear a couple of the things off the map that have been taken up.
Didn't somebody do something in the fiery chasm of doom last time?
Yeah, isn't that where you went and got that Fae and freed that Fae person that Dadushka made the deal with to go away?
Yeah, yeah. That's what's happened there.
I think there's been like something that's come up out of there, a group of somethings like a faction of creatures, like fire, lava created related creatures from underground that have come up and like set up a settlement on the surface there.
Are they humans? Are they? I mean, are they creatures? What are they in this sense?
They're sentient, so would it work better to be like humans magically changed from living down near the lava, or like creatures born of it?
I like the idea that they probably look human, but people aren't sure what they are, if they are human, or so that we can have that kind of low fantasy. We're not sure. Maybe they are fireborn in some way or something. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I like that.
And I'm going to go around. You can figure out a name for them. Not going to put you on the spot right away. Josh, would you like to add an opportunity, faction, or threat to the map?
Well, I am going to add an opportunity. I'm going to, if I can find the proper image, I'm going to add in an opportunity. I think that what Okay, yeah, I'm gonna add an opportunity. I think there is an abandoned garrison and abandoned sort of holdout from our rebellion. It was an imperial fort when we first rebelled against the Empire.
Okay.
And I think it has been mostly avoided by people, out of fear and the belief that it might be haunted or dangerous. But I think it has it is an opportunity for someone who is willing to go break into it for lots of material, like finished goods.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Where do you want to put that on the map?
I'm going to put that to the right of the Colosseum, but
Okay.
I'm going to also look for a picture for it.
Sure.
So
Excellent. I think that's a good choice. Jesse, what do you wish to add to the map?
So I think here's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
So the battle where Dedushka or the teachers took the head of that dude and got the sword.
Yeah, down in Sneadosh.
Was it in Sneadosh?
Yep.
That's even better. So I thought it was like between Polis Denia and Lucelli, but it's even better.
No,
It was
he had
Sneadosh.
like the guy had fled into Sneadosh. Yeah.
Right, and that's where the battle took place also.
Yeah.
With the okay, great. So, and just let me make sure I understood this, because I heard. So it turned out that that guy was actually a representative of the spirits
Yes.
who
Was there
had
to try to fight the Fae.
was there to try to fight the Fae and had taken the Fae sword.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so I think that place has become kind of a quiet memorial, right? Like a maybe even a place of pilgrimage, not for a lot of people, but for folks who know, right? There's like a kind of, you know, quiet underground of people, um, you know, some probably disciples of Dedushka, you know, others who had just heard the story from the various retainers who were with them, and like as the legend sort of spreads, but quietly. And that location is it's an opportunity, it's a resource. I think it is. I don't want to say it's attunement, necessarily, because I feel like that ties it too tightly into the spirits.
Let's leave it open, but we know that's a site that you can go to and you can kind of negotiate how you wanna use it for resource wise.
Yeah, I'm calling it something like memory, or like magical power. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm. And let me look at some of these things. I can't see them here. I have to go into the folder to pick an image.
Sure. I'm going to come back to Tyler. Tyler, I have a key question for you right now.
I am here.
Are you going to continue with Dedushka, or are you going to do a different character?
Oh, I'm definitely continuing with Dedushka.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
I want to mention that I did pick up my move from the last thingy where we completed.
Yep.
And I took something from the Brethren and I changed a little of the flavor, see if it's okay. I took their trade winds, which is your ship sail beyond the homeland, finding exotic and strange things, and changed it to new students. People from surrounding countries send their young people to learn from the teachers, bringing exotic and strange things as payment.
Okay.
Sound good?
That sounds good.
And since I am continuing on, my one of the things I get is...
Oh, so you need to choose a new playbook, though, for your character.
Oh, do I?
Yes, this is an interesting thing.
Ooh.
It says, pick a character playbook different from your old one. Decide if this is a new hero stepping forward or your old character finding a different approach.
Oh,
I didn't
Lord.
see this.
Huh.
That's an interesting mechanic. So I want to give you a sec to think about that.
Okay.
In fact, actually, let me do this. Let's take a 10-minute break here. And when we come back, we'll talk about that. I mean, everybody's going to have to make a new character or change the playbook for their existing character. And that's a pretty significant change. So we will come back on that. Does that sound okay?
Alrighty.
Yeah, I just noticed that. So we'll come back. Let's take 10, and then we'll come back.
Cool. Well, this one's going to be kind of a huge pain in the ass. You're muted, my love.
Yeah, I didn't catch that until I was looking at the book.
It's going to be both a time sink and it's going to have some weird things to it.
Yeah, one of the things that is unclear from the way the rules are written is what occurs when you change playbook. It says that you change playbook, but it isn't clear whether you start again from scratch or you keep your old moves. I just don't know.
It's a little so for whatever reason, I don't know if I have an old version or what exactly, but in the reference sheet, like the PDF reference sheet I have, where
It says it's a different wording. It's the wording we have in the spreadsheet.
just decide whether to keep your old character, pick a new playbook to represent the new situation, or build a new. So like it's not clear. Are those three choices?
Right?
Where
Is there a comma there?
There's there are three commas. It's a comma, not a colon.
Yes,
right.
But in the book,
Yeah, it's written very clearly
very
in the book.
Yeah, and I know that's a later version of the book. What is? So here's what I'm going to suggest.
Checking the book now.
If you're going to swap out your character's playbook, I suggest that the only change that's made is that conceivably you look at the must-take move from your original playbook. You know how usually there's take this one and then take another, take these. If there's a must-take move from the original one, swap that with whatever the must-take one is from the new playbook. Does that seem like a reasonable approach?
Sure.
I mean, there aren't that many moves anyway.
Yeah. I think.
And I don't think there's any must-take moves for these players.
Well, then
I'm fine with just building it again, changing stats, going new playbook.
Yeah, you can do that, or optionally, if you want to just make it simple and you want to change out the playbook, which will affect your roll moves, and you could swap out a couple of the character moves if you want to make that very simple. If you want to go it that way, if you want to do a full reconstruct, you can do that, or if you want to make a whole new character, you can do that. Does that seem reasonable?
You can't keep the same playbook.
Can't keep the same playbook.
All right.
So what are people thinking for playbook?
I'd like to take the Vagabond. I want to basically rip off what Darren did in the beginning to an extent. I thought that was really cool. I'm not going to do it's going to be different, obviously, but like the idea of being a vagabond who's not moving kind of perpendicular to the house in a lot of ways, I think is cool, and I want to experiment with that. I don't know if I can actually do it as a player.
We'll see.
Josh?
And we could have duplicate playbooks, right?
Yeah, I've got no problem with duplications.
So
I'm thinking the ambassador.
Well, I wasn't, strangely.
Ambassador's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's a cool playbook. I could see either the Factor or the Lore Master for Tormund easily.
What you thinking, Josh?
I am thinking.
And of course, you could stay with the scout if you made a new character. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking the Factor. Yeah.
Then I'll go Lore Master.
Okay.
and also just to be clear, so I'm playing a completely different
Okay.
character. I'm not continuing as Valdemar. So I'm at least going to need to do new backstory with people.
Okay.
So frustrating.
And Lowell, tell me again what we get all new moves, or do we have the option we keep moves and then when we go up we get new moves, or what we doing?
So the only thing that I think you would definitely want to swap over is the roll moves, like, because those
Right.
say something about that. If you want to trade out some of the other moves for the moves you have, I'm cool with that as well.
Cool. Okay.
Also gives you a new lease on life because it'll reset your rolls. Because you were one tick away from retiring your character. Now just have to kill him the old-fashioned way with bad dice rolls.
Oh, and I loved my death move as a lore master. That death move is awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Viewers at home, I will pause the recording for just a little while until we get to the other side of this, okay?
All right. I have changed to the ambassador playbook to kind
Okay.
of reflect being in charge. I kept the leadership role, which now is Mark. When you promise your house luxuries, if they do what you say how you've improved their lot already. The GM says what they now expect from me. And I'm going to make the point that, under my stewardship, under my direct influence, we got this new land. We learned a whole new ritual, which shows our connection to the land. And that's, and now we have these students coming in. This is what I've given to my people. Why are they not satisfied, lol?
Because they look around and they look at the Novgorodi people and they look at the Arbiters people and so on, and you've given them the basics. You've certainly provided them the things they need, but there's none of the luxury. There's none of the real chance for bounty and celebration and so on. And they would like a slice of that pie.
Okay, well, and we'll be getting some of that from the new students, so I could play to that with the new students rather than useful things.
Sure.
And let's see, I did change out one move. I kept my Ancient Magic Uncovered because I think it's awesome. I kept my Remembered Oaths because I think it's awesome. But I picked up Long Memories and got rid of my Forbidden Lore. Long Memories, when you enter a new court, roll lore. On a 7 to 9, name one secret of the leaders and an enemy of theirs. On a 10 plus, you've helped one of these parties in a major way. Say how.
I like
and
it.
Once and my stats did change with the new book.
Okay.
I went to a -1 bite from my 0, which makes sense because I'm quite old. My bravery went from a 1 to from a 1 to a 0 because I'm quite old.
Yes.
My cunning went from a 0 to a 1 because, well, I'm quite old. And my lore has gone to a 3 because I got a boost from my house to get a +1 when I keep the same character and transfer him into the new age.
Nice.
So I'm quite loreful because I'm quite old.
I like it. Who else is ready to go? Is someone else pretty complete? Jesse, let's see a thumbs up. Let's have you tell us. Valdemar has fallen into the darkness. Who is our new face of your house?
So, new face of the house is Annika Gonchar, pronoun she, her, a vagabond playbook. She looks feminine. She's got a friendly face, but kind of wary eyes and like a quick kind of bird-like body. I think she's sort of on the taller side, thin and kind of wiry, like that what's that aquiline Sherlock Holmes nose, right? That sort of protrudes from her face. Her might is 1, her cunning is 1, and her bravery and lore are both 0. She is playing the outsider role. When you set out into the world to walk your own path, say what legends you're chasing the truth of. So I'm chasing the legend of the secret places where fae and spirits battle for the soul of the land.
Ooh, interesting. Well,
and just like I'm pointing a little bit towards that place I stuck on the map, but like I think there could be more of them, right? Meaning I think this is a conflict we've kind of set up.
I think the other place that we've seen as a place of this is high in those mountains. There's been some discussion mention of that a couple of times. So I think those are 2 places.
Mm-hmm. And those are the places where you're telling me I might find further clues, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Fantastic. My moves are call on hospitality. When you enter someone's home, roll plus cunning. On a 10 plus, they treat you with full hospitality. On a 7 to 9, they give you the formal generosity for a while. On the miss, they give you a cup of water, a piece of bread, and send you on your way. And free agent, your name, your house, your history, all a mystery to those who meet you. Whenever your house follows up your actions with a subterfuge attempt, the roll has advantage.
Nice.
And I think so. She's a Gonchar. She's not from either of the powerful houses, of the powerful families of the house. I think that she's sort of like a 2nd tier noble. Her family is a family of potters, and they make beautiful pottery. She has a sort of a bowl she crafted that she carries around with her as sort of like a sign of her mastery of her craft, as all members of the forgers do. And I think her, and we'll do some of the history. I think her kind of deal is that 'cause she's young. She's got to be. I'm picturing her. She's like 17, 18,
Okay.
19. So she was like a little kid when all the previous events took place, and she sort of like lived through the crumbling of the house, and like has seen, like, she grew up in this sort of like like there's a lot of conflict. I think her parents may have been ambitious, like they thought they could really like rise it through the chaos, and she's kind of like heard like rumors of all of this stuff, and she knows that she has cousins who are down in Sneadosh, right, propitiating the Fae, and she's got, you know, a sibling who works in the Forge who's like the spirits of power, and she's kind of like, I just want to know what's up with all of this, and she's out exploring and is like, fuck all this politics nonsense. Let's see the stuff that makes up the world for real. That's kind of her deal. But you know, I think as she attracts power, as she hopes to, right, her the leadership of the house is gonna kind of be drawn to that in a certain sense, right? So she may not long term be able to like
Manipulate.
stay out of
Okay.
escape notice.
Okay. I like that, and we'll come back on the backstory questions once we get everybody's thing set. Patrick, do you want to tell us about how Tormud has evolved?
Sure. So going with the lore master, his stats have changed. His might is down at a -1. He lost a good bit of cunning because he's very distracted by all the lore he has. So much lore. 3 lore. Take that, lore. Let's see. Roll, I went with Outsider, which is mark when you seek the tutelage of a spirit of the land. And actually with that like heretic doctrine, it would be like a spirit of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Or the sky, or prophecy, or what the fuck ever. Say what way you were warped by the pilgrimage in mind or body. The GM will say what you'll need to do to win the spirit's approval.
So how are you warped?
I think it's his eyes. He's not like blind. But they're incredibly sensitive to light to the point where he can see like on a moonless night just by starlight, but is dazzled, blinded by bright lights.
I think that you have come to an accommodation with that spirit of death that you spoke with last time.
Gridimir?
Gridimir. And Gridimir has told you that he will show you the paths. But if someone dies in your presence, he asks that you lay your hand upon them so that he can join with that death a little.
I suppose that's just a natural part of, you know, being the death god of this land.
There's nothing sinister about it at all.
I can't imagine that there would be. And besides, I mean, how often do people just drop dead in front of you?
Fair enough, yeah. This will probably never come up. Let us come to Ekaterina. Is Ekaterina remaining?
Yes. Ekaterina is remaining. In the 10 years or so, she has taken less of a battlefield role. You know, she has retreated somewhat into more of an advisory position, still keeping the teachings that she learned when she was younger in mind, but moving on to higher places in life. Perhaps not totally to her satisfaction.
And what is her role now?
So now her role is factor.
Her role as a within the factor.
Now her role is champion. Mark when you become another leader's advisor, say a weakness of theirs that you can exploit, and the GM says a habit of theirs that makes my job difficult.
So, do you want to participate in an NPC faction, or you want to turn to a PC faction?
I think. Allow me to look at the NPC factions. I think that I probably am advisor to the leaders of Sneadosh, which is
they look to you for help in these new age. You're a bright, shining new thing, and they've been under their own ways for so long. They look to you for assistance and guidance. And I think the thing that does make your job difficult there, when you're sort of interacting with them, is that it's both a weakness, but it's also something that gets in the way, is the fact that a lot of the nobles still give honor and homage to the Fae. They try to do it quietly, but they're very reluctant to give up those ways. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Awesome. And what do you have for moves?
For moves, I kept the same ones. I replaced one of my moves with my little sparrows. So now when I enter a new settlement, I can say where I have spies, and I may ask questions about whatever group that they have infiltrated, at the risk of some discovery if I ask too much.
I like it. Let's come back to Dudushka. Are there any backstory questions? We know your backstory with Ekaterina, and we kind of know it with Tormod. Do you want to figure out what your relation to Anika might be?
Yes. Let's see. Also, something
Yes.
I wanted to let you know and see if it's okay. The spear seems like it has now become Yekaterina's, and you had given it kind of godly power on its own. So I've taken it away from being one of my house's treasures, since
That seems
it's
fair.
now hers, and I picked up for the second one, the old idol, weathered from being touched, to go along with my ancient words of power.
Excellent.
Is that cool? Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I guess I have new backstory questions, don't I? So I could use one of those for...
Oh, yeah.
That's cool, because then I won't have to use that just one that Voldemort had previously. Let's see what you think here, Jesse, of what I've got.
I mean, I have a perfect one for you.
Cool. How about you and I have a history that's quite unprofessional, or saved my life when a deal went very wrong? Which of those two do you like better?
What do you think an unprofessional relationship looks like in this context?
Well, it sounds to me, I wouldn't think it's romantic. I mean, that's not even May, December. That's more like January or December.
Right. That was like, but like,
do you think maybe I was a teacher to you, but I was like had you in such a favor that I was teaching you things that probably you shouldn't learn?
I think that's perfect, and it matches real, meaning that like it's that there's like I don't want to the implication. No, let's just leave it at that. I think that's good. So I have this and for you it's I've heard fascinating stories about Dedushka, and I think you are someone like who knows much about the hidden things that I'm trying to learn, and so I think I probably like maybe even in like the events leading right up to whenever we start, like I was your student. I approached you to like learn about this stuff because of the stories I'd heard, and like you really kind of took me under your wing, like maybe in a way that, especially because I'm from a different house and I'm not like an initiate or whatever. I was just a person who wanted to learn. Does that make sense?
How about I've also made it easily clear, if you have any desire to know it, so you would, that I feel like overthrowing the Arbiter. Maybe that's the unprofessional bit.
There we go. Yes, that's perfect. Like, you mean you're not just teaching me the lore of the teachers. You're this also fits your new role, right? I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
I came to you thinking of you in your old role, but you're relating to me in your new role as like I'm the ambassador who's going to foment the rebellion.
Right. Cool.
I love
Excellent.
it. I love it. And I'm on the fence about that.
So Anika, what about the other two people? Do you have backstories with them?
I would like to. I think that would just be, that's good.
Sure.
Tormund, remind me sort of like how you've been occupying yourself.
So in this like 10 years going forward, Tormund has like turned really mystic, spiritual. He's been obsessed with like following the magics and connecting with the spirits of this land, but he's also really worked to make like a permanent presence for Novgorod here that's made out of a lot of residents of this country that like have taken on Novgorodi philosophy or lifestyle sort of things.
Cool. I think you showed me kindness. How did you show me kindness? If you're okay with that, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying
Actually,
to
remembering that I'm also kind of like a mystical seeker, so like there's a reason I might have come to talk to you.
Yeah, I think one of the things he's become particularly good at is warding off the sort of like pestering annoyance, anger of a lot of the native spirits and little gods of this country, just because he tends to piss them off a lot. So he gave you I think sanctuary from an interaction that you'd like totally screwed up with some native spirit.
Cool, I like it. And what I have left, I think it actually works. Tell me how you feel about this, Josh. If you don't like it, we can work around it. But so Katerina hurt people I love, and they don't even know it. I have family in Sneadosh, right? We have some land in Sneadosh. The forgers, and I think like you advised the lead. I think this is like, I wonder if this is something about like a Fey shrine or something, where there was like a Fey shrine that some of my my family was going to, and like, no, that's a terrible idea. Rephrase. Let's keep it much more abstract, simple. That like that you gave them advice. You gave the leaders of Sneadosh advice that adversely affected my brother and sister-in-law who have land there in some major way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And like, you have no idea, because that wasn't on your radar, but it came back to me.
Tormod, do you have a relationship to Anika that you wish to do? We kind of know the backstory
Yeah.
with you and Dudushka and you and Ekaterina.
Yeah. I think it's that I don't think Anika knows I know what they did. So I think when she made that screwed up dealer interaction and ran to Tormod, that she had hidden like what she'd screwed up, that she'd hidden what she was running away from, but that he figured it out. So was it one of these like fairy presences that you were running from, or was it a god of the land, or what?
Yeah, I think it was where are you living now? Like, where do you hang out?
There's
Your chateau?
chateau like outside of the fastness there, but Tormod weirdly like sleeps outside and goes camping a lot now. But the chateau is like really built up in this amazing place.
Right. So I think I came down from I think it was like a mountain spirit. I think it was like a snowy mountain spirit of some kind, that I was trying to like ward away the snow to keep my fire going, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, and I pissed off this icy snow mountain spirit, and so
so just to keep like your tiny campfire going, you pissed off the spirit of an entire mountain.
Yeah,
like,
or at least the
pushed it out
peak,
of the way.
yeah.
I like that.
Excellent. And then, Josh, what is a Katharina relation backstory with Anika?
Yeah. Sorry, looking at the backstory choices. I don't know if any of these work for Anika. I also don't know if it's necessary, really.
Yeah, no, if it's not necessary, but all of the
Yeah.
backstory things are voluntary. If you've already got a good sense of it, then we're all
Yeah.
good.
I think Anika is young enough that Yekaterina probably would not have much interaction with her.
Yeah. I like that, especially because we have Anika's kind of resentment of you, but you don't even.
Yeah.
You maybe don't even know who I am, right? The first time we meet might be the first time we actually meet in person. But meanwhile, I had like a holiday meal with my sister, with my brother, and he was like, "Fuck her."
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then for Tormod,
I think we already had your relationship with Tormod, right? From the previous?
we did. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So we don't need to establish a new backstory. We can just roll on from the previous on that.
Yep.
So, the Arbiter's new project. This is going to shape the things. Arbiter's new project is one of transformation. And here's how that's described in the book. There's something about the nation's culture that the Arbiter wishes to alter. Through education or chastisement, incentives or strong-arm depression, they will try to reshape your society. There are 4 questions that go with that. That's the foundation questions. And the players are going to answer these questions. So I have some ideas, but let's get the input from the players here. Tyler, what does the Arbiter want to change? Do you have a good sense of what you think the Arbiter wants to shift?
Can we also hear a little bit, maybe how, is it the same person at the head as the Arbiter? Have
I
they
imagine,
done anything in the 10
I
years?
imagine that in 10 years, they have continued on. They wed a handsome princess from Novgorod.
Oh.
They, within a year after that whole incident went down, the Arbiter's falcon went missing. Iljana Skudra, with some sort of sword that she took from the vault of the, as you may recall, from the vault of Azdabiak.
How terrible for her.
Yes. The Arbiter still has a blade that was brought back, the Arbiter's blade. So that's another thing. But the Arbiter has continued on. He has a new agent. It's the Arbiter's shadow. Essentially, someone to kind of keep an eye on things. He hasn't strongly increased his martial presence. Does that seem like a reasonable description? He has eased up.
Well, or she, right? Because our person that was in, because the same person still in charge, right?
Yes, and it's the same person still in charge. He
was that a he? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just never gave him a name. The Arbiter has probably pulled back on the whole church thing and has tried to play both sides more often than not, rather than favoring one or the other.
Okay.
So do you have an idea?
Yeah, so the change is something within the kingdom that they're wanting to culturally change, right?
Yes, they want to change something about the culture or society or societal setup or something like that.
I would propose then to reflect that kind of lion moving into winter, or even lion rampant of a leader, that it is the cultural change is the houses will give fealty to the oligarch of their area. The idea being that that oligarch has a certain power in a house's territory that then reflects back to the Arbiter themselves. Those positions the Arbiter gives, the houses get to decide their own heirs, but now the Arbiter's deciding to grab hold a little stronger.
I like the idea, too, that the Arbiter is doing this sort of indirectly by saying these areas, these people will be electors. They will decide who manages the kingdom, and when I go, they will have power. That's why they're so important to have, and they tie them to the various cities and things like that.
Nice.
Patrick, what do you think was the inciting incident for the Arbiter to start making this play more strongly? Did they catch wind of someone's sedition, or did they have a child born, or what do you think?
I sort of think it was like tied to what was going on in Azdabiak. With who was your family member that was there, Tyler? That had married the now deceased barbarian.
Her name started with an M.
Marta?
Marta, that's it. There we go.
Yeah, I think it was to further help move out that look of like a foreign warlord, emissary, diplomat, whatever, coming in and laying out the politics for this kingdom. Because I think Tormund like took that 3 months and drug it out that he was supposed to choose someone in. And so if Tormund could be officially named as one of these people that are overseeing who's put in charge of stuff, well, he's not in charge of things, he's just part of the machinations of the kingdom, sort of thing.
He is the elector from the seat of Novgorod. Okay, I see. Okay, I like that. Josh, who do you think is sort of celebrated as the Arbiter's ideal person, ideal subject in this new land? That they're kind of pushing as the model citizen. You can take someone established, or you can make up someone.
Well, I think it's Nikolenko. I think it's, this big cult of personality, almost.
Okay, so he's really built up this myth of the crown of Nikolenko.
Yeah.
That's the dead one, like the one that was in
the
charge
one who
before
died
him.
in the rebellion, who led the rebellion.
I like that.
Our father of the country.
Yeah. They've written a new official text on what Nikolenko's beliefs were and practices were.
The Arbiter has written a new official text, and it has been translated into a mighty opera that is performed yearly at the Baravishi fastness. It takes 3 nights. It is called the Nikolenko saga, the Nikolenko cycle.
How Wagnerian.
Yeah. There's one part where they have to get all these hammers out and ding, 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 ding. So it's some people love it. There was an avant-garde performance of it one year, and all those people got put to the sword. But anyway, Jesse, with this new move for these electors and kind of centralization in the regions of control, who do you think is seeing their way of life become more difficult?
I think in a lot of ways it's the rural and village folk, like as you have these like electors with their sort of like creating sort of like centralized capitals within the regions, they start like imposing, to like keep up their courts, they have to start imposing increased taxes on farmers and landholders, and like there's just more and like you have like a move of power to cities without like anything that's really increasing their productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we're still like fundamentally kind of an agrarian society. And so what's kind of happening is that just like puts a lot of burden on the people who actually do the labor and create the value, which is the agrarian people.
Excellent. I think that's perfect. So we come to the Bardavashi fastness. We come to the court of the Arbiter. We are 10 years on. Things are a little aged. We've had the title thing that says 10 years later. And we've come to that. And there's probably people who are kind of going out into the night air after the performance of the opera. Some people still in there clapping, and some people just trying to get out to catch their breath. But we're going to come to that court here. And each house during this time is going to make the roll for their court. So, Tyler, you still have a house move regarding this, don't you?
I do.
So tell me, teacher, how are you addressing the Arbiter?
The house no longer lauds the Arbiter and their wisdom. Instead, the teachers speak of the land now having these electors there. This is not the tradition. Our arbiter seems to be straying from the ways that were so good for us for so many centuries before the occupation, and the wisdom that has been shown since the occupation ended. And now the arbiter walks a fine line between losing the favor of the land.
Let us have you roll holding court with disadvantage.
With disadvantage, boy. And I rolled terrible with advantage, so I'll probably get like a 12.
You might.
I have an 11. I'm sorry, a 10.
Are you shitting me?
Oh, no. The die moved after that. And so I have an 8.
You have an 8. It's still not bad.
Mm-hmm.
They have something they need from you. The arbiter will call in. Is it Dadushka or is it somebody else? Is it that young woman?
I think it's Elizabeth. And we're going to come to a moment where Dadushka starts to wander again. So she's going to end up being the mouth of the house most of the time.
He says, probably very, very tight-lipped. He makes no comment on what has been going on. Your lands border those of Andorra.
Yes, Lord. It would seem the Republic is quite martial on our borders.
I do not wish you to have to become a barrier, a wall, a buffer.
We appreciate that, Lord.
So you have my permission to go as an embassy to Andorra and attempt to diffuse that situation, come to some agreement there.
I think Elizabeth is actually kind of relieved to hear that, because she was kind of fearful. You won't have to be a buffer because I'm going to take that land from you.
And he says, I need you to hammer out an agreement. If you cannot hammer out an agreement, then we will have to make other accommodations for the border.
Of course, Arbiter. And our house is, as always, a servant of the land.
I do this to you, give you this task, and give you this opportunity in good grace and good humor.
Your humor and grace are both legendary, Arbiter.
Dismissed. Tormod, my old friend. How are you? It's been so long.
Arbiter, it has been forever.
I have heard tales since the last great feast that you held that you have been taken to sleeping out of doors in the rough. Tell me this is not true.
I mean, one man's rough is another man's down covered sleeping bags. But you know, I've really come to enjoy and appreciate the beauty of your country, and just I feel like I want to be closer to the land and the stars here.
Let's have you roll your favor.
Which is, nothing's taking it down. It's still just crazy high.
Yeah, because it has to do with, yes, by the way, your people wish to destroy this project of the Arbiters. They think it will centralize too much power. They want the country destabilized. If you can undermine the elector thing, it will cause sedition, rebellion, and possibly give them a way of moving in and taking lands in the north.
Just my good buddy, the Arbiter here. Everything's happy and cheery. All right. Let's. Are you done? All right. 8 plus 2 is 10.
Yeah, and we actually do this on your roll. So
Yes, which is not from here on my house moves.
let me get that. Da, 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 da.
Which is on a hit, you're respected in the Arbiter's court. On a 7 to 9, pick 1. On a 10 plus, pick 2.
What 2 things do you want from the Arbiter's court there?
I want a private meeting with someone that no one else will know about.
Who do you want to meet with?
I'm sure it's nothing, and it's just the idle, paranoid chatter of people through the kingdom. But I hear there's someone new close to you, like your very shadow, they say.
Well, I have someone who has been of assistance to me. I will send them to you to speak with you and to introduce themselves.
That sounds perfect. I mean, I have been such the model citizen of your vision in this land. I wish only to know how to hew closer to what you see for the future.
Well, I appreciate that. There are those who have begun to speak uncharitably of me and our plans for the future. That vexes me. I am vexed.
And you've spoken before about. I know we've talked about how I really need someone strong and respective and native to this country to be a good mouthpiece for my message and interactions here. And I know that we got off to a rocky start, but I've thought on it. I do think Lady Sigalin would make such a wonderful emissary in my house's colors. And I'd like to turn someone within their regime into my asset.
That is very generous of you, given Lady Sigalin's discommodation in the last few years. I expect that your generosity will not go unnoticed by her. Will pull her out of the mire that she has built for herself.
Well, I know she was a strong admirer of your former agent, the Falcon, and I just feel like people with too much memory and too long grudges just keep bringing up that connection, and I really feel like that's hindering her connection to the Falcon.
I think that you are right. So yes, I will send her a missive to tell her that she will be an attaché to you to work with your house and our peoples.
Perfect. I'll begin commission on her livery immediately.
And Ekaterina, you are also still quite highly in favor.
Yes. All right. So let's roll. That is 7.
That is a 7. So on a 7 to 9, we make a choice here. Ekaterina, we have the highest respect for you and the Horse Lords. You have blossomed from a great leader on the battlefield to a great leader for your house as a whole. You are a sterling banner of what can be. And in this new regime, in this new approach, you will be an elector, your family will be given that post, and it will be given to you.
Yekaterina bows her head, and she goes, "Well, this is a great honor. I thank you."
It is important to us that you have a role in this. You have done well by us. I would like to ask a favor of you, though.
Well, of course.
I have the greatest respect for the teachers. They have been a sterling reminder of the old ways. And there was a day when I thought to have the new church control, but they taught me that a broader approach, multiple voices, was more important. They taught me that the old ways had to be honored, as well as the vision and the glory that the new faith had given us, and it allowed us to have victory. But these days they are most vocal in their disparagement of our plans. And I would very much like you to see if you can convince them. I would like you to convince them to come back into the fold. I would like to give them the opportunity to become an important part of this new kingdom.
Yekaterina nods again, and she goes, "I will speak to the teachers.
Thank
I will
you.
see what they say."
Thank you. I know that you have a strong connections with their spiritual head, Dudushka. I don't necessarily want you to treat on that friendship, but I ask you this for the betterment of our country.
For the betterment of our country.
And Jesse, who is the representative who speaks for the forger?
So I think it's like our leadership is a fucking mess.
Oh yeah.
There's like, nominally ahead is probably like one of Tatiana's like kids. I don't know which one. But like there's the person who was and there's like a Sen who's like pushing to like have her forced out, and so I think it's actually two people.
Okay.
Sort of like representing both factions, but they're like kind of getting along, and it's like a couple of like mid-level functionaries who are literally just messengers who have no decision-making power at all.
And the Arbiter says, "I was shocked at the victory of your entrant in the ceremonial duels this year. I did not know that a swordsman of such skill lived among the forgers, but I was impressed with their prowess on the battlefield, and certainly has given me a chance to see the new direction of your household."
Yes. We've realized that, and they've not necessarily realized any such thing. It's just a fluke. But we've realized that investing in martial training for our youth is something that could perhaps help advance the nation's goals in better ways. And so the ANO is the result of that.
Excellent.
Particularly endeavor, which she is not. She's good at fighting.
Because of this is my arbiter move. Is I pick who is the best house with the best swordsman, and you get to roll with advantage on your court move.
Well, thank you kindly, given how terrible my favor is. Her name is Ano. That's her name.
Okay.
She's very good at fighting. I don't know what family she's from. It doesn't matter. You could. So yeah, I will roll. I roll with advantage, so I need another die. So this is the first roll. of the dice. Where'd it go? There it is. It's a 1. I have 2 more dice to roll. Let's see how they turn out. A 6 and a 2. So that is an 8. Minus 2 is a 6.
Are you at -2? I think you're at -1.
Oh, in that case, it's a 7. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
You are right. I am at -1.
Okay. I am impressed. And as you know, we have not looked towards military buildup over these last few years. But the situation on the border with Andorra suggests that perhaps we need to be looking that way. I would like you to, I will honor you with the opportunity to supply for the houses, so on, either recruits, if you have trained soldiers, or perhaps relying on your craftsmanship, weapons to help supply troops.
Yes, of course. We will take account of such resources as available and supply you with everything you need.
Absolutely. Well, good. Well then, there it is. And your representatives are dismissed. Dadushka, where are you? If you're not there, where does the camera come to you?
I think the camera comes to me walking up towards the grove outside of Tormund's chateau.
Are you looking to meet with Tormund?
I'm looking to meet with Tormund, who I think Tormund is himself at court, right?
Yeah.
And so as we see this opening scene of him going up there and kind of, I think that he's probably enacted the ritual, so he's moving kind of just easy and smooth and probably unseen in this area. And he looks and, kind of feeling from the land, hearing the spirits, and I'll hit a flesh wound to hear them, finding where it is that Tormund has been resting. And he will lay down there to sleep as well, looking to see what is it that Tormund has become so fascinated by. Why has he made this change? And how is that going to help me overthrow the Arbiter?
Well, I think you will dream of a dark, cold place that is like the tomb. And you will dream of a girl weeping in the corner, left behind, the gods sitting there with their god talk, and she left alone here. But then I think you will feel that cold touch, and you will dream deep dreams of death. Like something walks across your grave there, passes over you. You almost feel the shawl of something pass over you in your sleep. And maybe a whisper of, soon, old man.
Oh, as in it's looking at me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Is it possible for me to do an Earth Forgotten lore here?
Yeah. If you want to do that, in addition to your getting your little magical Benny.
Because this could go poorly as compared to my
Absolutely. That's why I want you to roll.
Alrighty. Let's see how we do. Oh, have you finished? You have. That'll give me a 9.
You get to ask a question.
I do. All right. this area he's been resting in, this area he's been communing with.
Uh-huh.
This probably is more of a it will end up being more of a defining of what I've already seen. But what was it made to remember?
Tormund, I'm gonna let you answer that one, actually.
So, I don't know. Explain where you're coming from more.
You've been out here communing with the lands. You've been sleeping in this place. I'm guessing that you've been using that time for some reason. What was it you were doing here? What was this area made to remember while you were doing the communing? And that could be like, why is here made as the spot you did it? Or what did you force this area to remember because this is where you chose it, I suppose?
I think it's that this area is focused on less about like Tormund reconnecting or connecting to the land here, which is what he's been saying, publicly into the Arbiter. And it's more that this spot here is open to the sky. It's actually, you feel it's not very connected to the land underneath it anymore. It's almost like suspended from the stars above it.
Like the teachings of the church, or like a melding of the two, or like a new way of looking at the land power?
I don't know. I wasn't around to hear anything of the teachings of the church.
This is certainly churchy.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's like a new interpretation of the same things you were hearing from the church. He's not following the church, but it's, if it's a similar sort of inspiration and source translated through a very northerner sort of view.
Interesting, because I also have a thing I wanted to learn from that tradition of how to find and bring up the great heroes. So it fascinates me that you're trying to tap into that same power. And so I will be sleeping around this glen waiting for Tormund's return.
Let's come to Tormund. Do you want to do that scene, or do you have another scene you want to call there? Ekaterina is certainly at the court at that point. There are other representatives. You could meet with Lady Sigalin. You could meet with the Arbiter's Shadow.
Yeah, I can. Let's see what Tadushka has up his sleeve.
Okay. Then I think when you return back to your household after that interminable opera, you will definitely get that wary feeling as
there's
you
a break for dinner in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, that's
like there's a full hour and a half intermission between the two 5-hour segments of this opera.
But that's just the final one. The other two parts of it weren't as bad.
Days 1 and 2 are sort of enjoyable.
Yeah, you'll definitely get the feeling that something is slightly amiss, and when you arrive in your area, you will see Tormund sleeping in your bed.
This moss loam is just
Sorry,
right.
Tadushka sleeping in your bed. I apologize.
Oh, sorry, I had been planning to be awake for your return.
Yes. Lucky for you, you woke up. I was moments away from grabbing a rock.
Oh, my old friend. Well, anything that brings us closer to the land, right?
Yes. That's what my family is here for, to connect to this land.
I apologize. I know you had to deal with court. I was hoping to have a word with you when you returned, and, well, I suppose it was just too inviting, your lovely little grotto.
We do have guest rooms, you know.
Oh, I feel much more comfortable out here, as you seem to be doing as well. Open to the sky, back to the land.
I like the atmosphere here.
My old friend, please, I'm sorry. It is inappropriate for me to be as though host. And I know you must have had a very long journey.
Is there something that you need from me?
Well, yes. I'm not sure exactly the position of your patron, and not to be insulting in the least, it seems you've become much, well, I believe the term is gone native. I definitely don't mean that as an insult. I probably would say it's a compliment.
I should hope it wasn't an insult. It would be one directed at yourself as well.
Indeed. But the Arbiter is, well, almost promoting you as though you're one of these electors that he's seen fit to place across the land.
The Arbiter is a wise and long-seeing leader.
Please, you and I know better than that.
It's terrible. What awful things you say.
I'm saying that it is perhaps time for our Arbiter to shuffle on off stage. What is the position of Novigrad on that?
What? I wouldn't think that would even have to be asked after all this time. Novgorod obviously stands strongly behind this unnamed country.
The land.
The land! As we always have, strong supporters of the Arbiter and his new ideas. Isn't that what we've always proved ourselves to be? Have we given some indication that we might have turned against the land?
You and I are old friends, and I come to you putting myself in great danger. There's no need for us to verbally joust over this. Can I expect that if a new and better leader of the land is found, Novigrad might support them?
You can... Hold on a second. You can expect Novgorod, as you can always expect Novgorod, to look after its investments.
Torment, I fully believe it is time that the hero arrives. You've been studying. I sense it. You are learning things that I never did, never could. I ask if you will look to the skies. Tell me if a hero is arising, and if it is the one I expect. Yekaterina would be a wonderful leader. And we would not see these idiots as electors. And your own country would see a friend.
I, being your dear and old friend, will look into and see if I can dig up any wisdom or advice for your situation. But I would warn you, the stars often say less than you would ever want them to. Whereas the earth around you, deserted though it may look, often hears more than you would like.
Mm.
I would be careful what you say and what you listen to.
Thank you, my friend, and I appreciate your help and your warning. Is there anything that I can do for you?
Yes, you can come inside for the feast that's been going cold for an hour now.
Did you uncork that marvelous vintage that I so very much like?
Well, how could I have? I didn't know which aged hobo was sleeping out in my courtyard.
Oh, I suppose I'll just have to endure it without proper time for breathing.
Again, I have guest quarters.
Let me cut from that to Ekaterina. What do we see you doing, either there or the immediate aftermath, or what are you up to? How are you feeling about the orders that have been given to you?
I think Ekaterina is reluctant to, stay the teachers from their path. I think she trusts Dadushka a lot more than she trusts the Arbiters. But I think that she will at least make it look like she made an effort,
Mm-hmm.
So she is probably returning to, or not returning to, but rather going to the teacher's home, which is
Traveling up to New Teacher Land?
traveling up to New Teacher Land to
Which needs a name.
which needs a name. To meet with the teachers and to speak to Dedishka. She assumes that she will meet eventually, and see if she can't find out a solution or otherwise.
So, Dudushka, do we want to have you speak with her, or should we have a representative of your house speak with her?
I mean, I'd love to do it personally, but it probably makes more sense as a representative.
Okay. And you will meet with one of the agents. Of course, Dudushka's second is at the court right now, but you'll meet with one of the senior people who will greet you warmly. Dudushka is not present here. He has gone to travel out, as he does from time to time. Is there something that the teachers can do for you? Dudushka had told us that you are the hope for the land. What is it that we can do for you?
Yekaterina looks at the people offering hospitality, and she says, "You could give me a room so that way I can stay until I can speak to the Dushka."
We will absolutely provide such lodgings for you.
Yeah, and she says it nicely, but this is a matter for, people of a higher status, right?
Absolutely. In that case, let me do this. Let me cut and do Jesse with Anika. Get a sense we can frame that up, and then let's come back to that convo. Anika.
So I'm just a little confused for a second about some of the timeline of what just happened. So Tormund, all three of you were at the court.
Yep.
Right? And then
I wasn't.
Dadushka wasn't.
Oh, Dadushka wasn't. So then, but then Dadushka came to the court to meet with Tormod, or that was a
I
Torment
waited
it-
for Tormund to leave court and come home.
back. Got it. And then you cut her. That was the piece I was missing. I think in my head you were in the court. I
Okay.
missed it at the very beginning when you said that you weren't there, and so that threw me off. Got it. Okay. So I wonder if I have also gone to find Dadushka in their new teacher land.
I like that. And maybe then someone comes and says, we're going to have to change your rooms out. There is an honored guest also coming to see Dadushka. We will find suitable quarters for you, but these rooms must be given unto her.
Of course. I'm used to the students' quarters anyway. The guest quarters felt out of place for me.
And I think as you kind of come out into the hall, you will see a woman. Describe yourself, Ekaterina, just to remind us what your physical presence is.
Yes. Yekaterina is lithe. She is clearly, strong from years of riding and shooting and living hard. But she's more, she's wiry more than anything else, really. She has very sharp eyes. It always looks like she is taking in just a lot of everything she sees. When she looks at something, she really looks at it.
And Anika, you will hear, Lady Ekaterina, we're very pleased to have you here. We will set you up in these rooms, and you will realize, Anika, who this is.
I sort of like frown and stare daggers at the back. No, that's not who Anika is. Anika steps up, and Katrina is very tall, right? Or on the taller side?
Probably not, actually. I would say average height.
Okay, so then Anika's like a little bit shorter than you, right? Probably like top of the head, if she's looking straight ahead, she's like looking at your nose. She's like on the shorter side. And so she like comes up to you, like gets like uncomfortably close, and like looks up into your eyes and says, do you even think about the consequences of what you tell those people?
This representative is like, I'm sorry, Lady Miss Anika. No, you should. This is
I need to have a word with her.
This is not the place for this kind of thing. And he's making to kind of pull Anika away, Ekaterina. What do you do? What do you react? What do you say?
Ekaterina, she looks at Anika, and she looks at Anika very closely, and she does not know Anika. She does not recognize her. She does not recognize who she, who she might be aligned with.
So I think if you look closely, you can see with like the stuff that she's like taking out of the room, she's like, which is not very much. She's got like a sword on a belt, like one of the rune swords of the forgers, which are like sort of one of the a way we can be identified, but you might not know. It's up to you if you want to notice it, but like that's a thing that I'm carrying that I can't really hide.
Yeah. I think that Ekaterina looks at Anika and goes, I think very hard about everything I do. As Anika is sort of being like pushed off by the staff and such.
Right. And I like take a deep breath. I'm kind of like tense my jaw, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. There are better ways to have these conversations. Master Dadushka's always telling me. He's very diplomatic. But he says, Anika, you lead with your heart. Your heart comes out of your mouth. You should be using more of your head. Lady Ekaterina, I am very sorry. But when you advised the Sneadoshi on taxation policy, and we all know that your advice is as good as law down there, it's as if you didn't think about the good farmers of the land who are just trying to eat. And you hurt some people, or that hurt some people. And I sort of like shake my head and like I let the guards lead me away if Ekaterina doesn't have a response there.
Yeah, I think she is willing to let that stand.
Then I think to Dushka, there is that moment when you return back, and again, you have this ability, you have this ritual to move across the land using this mystical talents. And I think when you arrive back, you're essentially the person you have in charge while you're gone. And my boss comes and says, "We had an incident."
An incident? Oh dear, what?
Lady Ekaterina was accosted by one of your students.
Oh dear, are they still alive?
Yes, he did not break into open combat, but it was... And she did issue an apology, but there was a moment there where I was afraid that it was going to break into open swordplay.
Which student?
The one called Anika?
Oh. Well, a student, but not part of our house. That is a very different thing. Oh dearie dear. I hate to see two of my favorite people at each other's throats. How did Ekaterina react?
She said very little.
Wisdom, it always impresses me. Well, then perhaps fences can be mended. My gracious, both of them are here.
It is as I have said, Master Dadushka.
Oh dear. Well, send word to both of them that I've returned, and I would love to see them. But let's see Ekaterina first. Can you lay out a bit of tea and something tasty, a nibbly bit? I would really enjoy a nibbly bit.
Certainly, sir. I will have the nibbly bits prepared.
Thank you.
And Ekaterina, you are eventually brought into the place with the tea and the nibbly bits, and the Dadushka arrives.
Tridiska, as he comes up to meet you. Oh, it is so wonderful to see you.
Yeah, and Ekaterina, rises and meets him and goes, "It is wonderful to see you too."
If you let him, he'll come up, embrace you. You've traveled so far just to see me?
Well, unfortunately, Dadushka, my time is more regulated now. I have things I must talk to you about.
Oh, well, that sounds serious. So please, sit, drink. What is it that's on your mind, my dear?
Well, unfortunately, the Arbiter disagrees with the way that the teachers have moved and have returned to the old ways over the years. The Arbiter does not appreciate this. They think it does not work with the modernization, the modeling of Nikolenko. He was not a man of the old ways, they say. He was a new man, a progressive man, a man who rose up and changed things. And they do not appreciate what it is that you do.
Nikolenko was a butcher. He just happened to butcher people we were glad to see gone. And Yekaterina, I'm guessing that you were tasked with bringing me to heel. Is that correct?
I would be lying if I said it was not.
And how do you feel about this? How pleased are you with our Arbiter?
This step, it thrives. This step is doing well. We have problems, but everywhere has problems. Huh? We have shortages, but everywhere shortages. It is not the Arbiter who does this to us, and things have been worse. Huh?
What do you think of his new plan? I've been led to believe that he plans to have these electors with greater and greater control over all of our lands.
It is not ideal, but I have been promised a seat on the elector court, and I feel as though with myself on it, perhaps with other people who understand the value of the old ways of our culture, of the land that we come from, I do not think it is a bad thing to have a council of people from around the nation, to have people to meet and discuss.
Well, I can think of no one who would be better suited to have voice in government than you, but Ekaterina, I fear the Arbiter moves away from tradition too far, and I would see him replaced. I would see him replaced by you.
Katerina looks at Didushka and she goes, "But that is high treason."
It is.
And you know what people from this country, this great country, you know what they do to those who announce high treason. Well, you know what they did to Nikolenko.
Yes. They made him a saint when he committed high treason.
They killed him in the street when he committed high treason. They made him a saint after he was dead, and I do not think Nikolenko knows of it.
Perhaps I'm just a foolish old man. But I would rather leave this place, regardless of how I leave, better than I found it. You are better than what we have here.
Can I put a pin in that?
Yeah.
Because I definitely want to get an Anika scene with Dadushka, because that's kind of been set up. Let's do that. We'll kind of bring it to a close for today and kind of set up how we're going to frame and go into the next session next time. So Anika, I imagine that there's a pause where Katharina has to think about these things. Dadushka's maybe a little more somber when you're brought to see him, Anika.
Mm-hmm. Master Dadushka, and she sort of like takes her hands and then does like a little kind of like bow thing where she's like trying to be formally respectful, but also is just nervous and excited to see him.
And he'll come forward and kind of take your hands. It's so good to see you.
It is a wonder to see you too, Master. It's been too long. I have seen and learned wonders, but not like the wisdom I learned at your feet.
You flatter an old man. I
don't know what flattery is.
I heard you had a bit of an incident with my other visitor.
Yes, and like I explained that what the circumstances were, and like, we don't need to get into that. Mm-hmm. And it's just I understand she is important and honored, and clearly a dear friend of yours, and I want to respect that. But when you have power like that, and you don't think about the people it affects, it makes me angry.
I think you may underestimate how much Katerina cares about the people. But all of us find at times we can't see everything, or we're made into something we don't entirely control.
When you have power like that, I'm sorry, Master, I don't mean to be brazen, but when you have power like that, then, well, if you're not using it to, if it only causes harm to the people who are weakest, well, what good is it?
I agree with you there. You and I are of one mind. Ours is to help the land and its people. I hope that Katerina will see that, and I hope that you will see in Katerina that she knows it.
I'm sure she knows it. I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you, Master. But clearly she doesn't take enough care to enact it.
Yes, I somewhat find myself in agreement to the extent that maybe Yekaterina has, well, seen a bit of comfort from what the Arbiter produces. And I've seen very few things that the Arbiter produces that are good for the land.
This isn't about politics. Let's not talk about politics. Let me tell you about what I learned, what I saw, and I
absolutely, please.
I tell him about the mountain spirit and Tormod, and I tell him about, other, searching around on Sneodosh for Fey stuff, and maybe even like a ridiculous conversation I had with someone from the church about the stars, and how that all just was obviously nonsense. But then I saw Tormod is the stars, and just all these new exciting things I'm learning about, and I tell it all to you.
And I'm fascinated. I'm just wrapped with your stories.
Go on.
And I come across with all this encouragement. Everything you do, it's a marvel to me. I wish I had your energy, but I am long past that.
Well, if you want, I can be your eyes and ears. I can learn things for you. I don't know what I have to teach you. You've taught me so much, but there are places I've heard the mountaintops, and there's a battlefield in Sneodosh, and there are places where the Fae and the spirits have fought, and I just, those are places of wonder, I think, and there's so much to learn from them.
I know of that battlefield, and when I was last there, it was not a place of wonder. But you're right. There is so much to be learned. Be on the lookout for where these Fae may be giving influence. They're going to be a danger to us.
They can be dangerous, but I don't know. I have, my family down in Sneodosh, maybe the rulers and the taxes and Katerina are hurting them and taxing them beyond their means, but they tell me the Fae can help.
There is nothing against the land with dealing with Fae. I have had to do it myself. But they are tricksy and dangerous.
The spirit I met in the mountain seemed pretty dangerous too.
They are.
Maybe not tricksy, but dangerous.
I'm going to cut there.
Mhm.
I do think that I want to have just a brief 30 seconds with Tormod, and that there is a moment after Tadushka has left that you'll see that spirit that has been guiding you. Its hand on your shoulder for a while will pop up, and it kind of leans forward, and this little death whispers in your ear, "Shall I tell you where Starfall is? That blade?"
It is something that everybody's been wanting to know.
Yes. And so next time we're going to start with you, Tormod, either a character move, or if we want to start with your family move, because we kind of had you kind of back. So we're going to start with you, a number one priority. We'll check in with everybody at the beginning of next session, and we will move to. I don't know if we'll get the project done. We might blow it up because we've already got one doom because of the turmoil, and I'm almost thinking that the key figures in the Arbiter's administration speak against the changes might be almost triggering as well. But thank you all so much, and I'm going to stop recording.